Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Thoughtworks Technology Podcast. My name is Ken McGrage. I am one of your regular hosts. With me today is a longtime thought worker, works a lot on our AI and so forth. I'll let him introduce himself. Zashwan, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Zichuan. So I joined Thoughtworks about 18 years back. In the past 18 years, I was switching a lot of different roles. I was into AIs about 3-4 years back, leading a lot of AI solutioning. At Thoughtworks, I focus on industry solutions. Then I joined a managed service business at Thoughtworks called Damo, which is our managed service business. Right now, I'm handling the AIOps for our managed service business. So usually we sign 3-year deal with the customers. My job is to bring the AI solutions into our IT operations, focusing on infrastructure managed services, application managed services, and also data managed services. That's me, based in San Francisco, and MCP is a huge deal for me. Recently, I wrote articles about MCP. I'm excited about the breakthrough of AI technologies in the past 3 years.
I really appreciate you joining. And as you kind of hinted at there, I have a background in DevOps and SRE and that whole movement, and I know that we've interacted that way in the past. But you recently did an article with a couple of our partners talking specifically about MCPs and APIs in the SRE type context. And so, what I wanted to do today is dive into that a little bit for our listeners. So, first off, just from a context perspective. Why does an SRE? Why do you need more than just APIs? Why MCP? What's it bringing? That sort of thing.
So when I think about this, SRE means site reliability engineering. So in the past 15, 20 years, the SRE as a term expanded a lot. So if you think about it, it's not only about a site. It can be any type of workloads. It can be AI application. It can be a data product. It can be a pipeline, multiple different things, right? Reliability changed a lot. When people think about reliability, it's not non-functional requirement. It's one of the abilities, right? A reliability can mean trust. It can mean continuity. It can be customer experience. It can be performance, multiple different things. And also engineering changed a lot. How we do things, it's so different compared to 15 years back. To me, SRE is a huge deal into the context, because you always need to consider the context, either investigating some of the incidents or try to figure out how to resolve the incidents. So that's, to me, the context we're seeing here is we have the shifted context about SRE, and also a lot of the technology leaders are trying to build out AI into their existing SRE practice. All the way 2 years back, when people start talking about the agentic AI flows, people are talking about building those the AI agents into a linear focus or a value chain into different workflows, right? That's when the technology leaders were thinking about bringing the AI agents into the SRE practices. And about a year ago, the Anthropic brought the MCP context into the game and talking about bringing the context to the AI agent so the AI agent can perform better, right? So that's really the whole story about how things are going on. So from changing landscape of SRE to the AI agent usage to the MCP as a context provider to enable the AI agents to play better, right? To make better decisions. So those are really context we're seeing. That's why I personally believe MCP is a huge deal for SRE. It's all the way because SRE is changing, AI agent is changing the game, and also AI agent requires more context in the SRE space.
So just to be clear, doing the system reliability engineering on any application, even if the application isn't an AI, right? This is using AI and MCP and all these things to manage and run and secure and et cetera. But it's not only for AI apps. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we keep talking about AI for operations, also operation for AI. It's two different things, but in this context, I'll majorly talk about the AI for operations for any type of workloads. It can be applications, it can be a workload, a data pipeline, anything, right? beyond AI. AI is just like AI application is one type of the workload, right? So that's big context we're bringing here.
So then, if just for the benefit of our listeners that may not be aware, what's your short definition of MCP or Model Context Protocol? What do you mean when you say it? Just so they know what we're talking about the rest of the podcast.
So MCP means a model context protocol. To me, it's just a very it's a semantic dynamic context layer to enable AI agents. It is beneficial for AI agent to understand the context better. Then they can perform better to generate more specific output in a very responsible way, which is really required in SRE practice.
That's great. So in the past, like we've talked about, like APIs in an SRE context, like you mentioned earlier, the ilities, observability and scalability and all those. And we would have an API that we would use to get information. And often that information is information overload. But so what's the paradigm shift here? Why MCP and not just APIs that have worked?
So to me, I use this analogy. Like my wife always give me a post-it, like go do a grocery store to buy stuff, right? So the post-it writing, it's just like a list of things, right? I need to buy a milk or a chicken wings or something like that, right? Just a list of things. I don't need to ask a question. I just go there and make sure the label are matching. I just buy it, right? I don't need to know like what she's preparing, what type of dinner for this thing she's buying. I just like pick the order, deliver it, right? So to me, that's API. It's function, it's a script, it's structured. 99% is not wrong. Like if you follow the instruction, you follow the schema, right? Versus MCP is something like she would say, sweetheart, we're going to have an anniversary, a 10th anniversary next month. What do you do? Right. So that to me, that's a MCP. It's, I need to figure out the context. I need to figure out, oh, we're having this anniversary. I need to find out what she likes, try to plan something. So to me, that's a really dynamic, that's contextual, that's semantic. You have to bring something together with my wife, like to bring something together. So that's to me the difference between the MCP and also API. API is really good at those strict function-based, schema-based, structured input and output, dealing with different systems. But MCP is for more dynamic, open-ended, the request task, generative tasks. So, and also you have to consider the context. That's why the difference between two things, I would say that it's not replacing, MCP is not replacing API. It's just for different purposes, different scenario. You need a different type of job to be done, and you need to apply different technology into this.
So would this be something like for instance response, for example?
Yes. If you think about the instant response, right? You have an instant. The things you, as a SRE engineer, you will do, you will connect multiple different contexts, to that instant. You have to look at the log to understand what's going on. From the log, you have to go to the different impacted system to understand the impact to those systems, right? Then also you need to connect the impact to the business metrics to understand the priority, right? What does this is hurting business your continuity? This is a reason raising a security issue. You always need to bring those contexts to the business. Then you have to connect expertise to those different contexts. If this is about security, you have to connect to a security expert, or this is about compliance, you have to connect to compliance expert, right? In this case, investigation on incident, try to find out resolution is context shifting game. It's a very dynamic way of doing things, the shifting context. So that's why I personally believe MCP plays a great role here, because incident management resolution is a very dynamic, open-ended decision-making task to do. So even though like API is providing the support, I focus on the rule-based support, but that dynamic context shifting exploration is also important in incident management. That's why MCP plays a critical role in supporting this.
So what would be the scope here? Like, for example, I want to do an incident response, and let's say I'm a retailer, and I can't nobody can place an order on my website. I mean, that could be database, it could be throughput, it could be disk space, it could be a million things. Forgive me if I say something silly from an agentic architecture perspective, but do you have like different agents for each of those things that are all sharing a context through the MCP? Do you have multiple of these? I mean, what's this look like on the ground from an implementation perspective?
So from implementation perspective, they're just two very simple. You have MCP server, you have MCP agents, right? So the client or MCP client. So MCP servers are those like the knowledge system who provide the context, right? Let me give you some example. Right now, we're building multiple different MCP clients for our clients adoption. We are building postmortem analysis report every time we have an incident, right? In that case, we're trying to create the agent to generate that report. If you think about that report generation, it will consume the context from the past incidents and try to capture the learning and turn that into a report. So in this case, we're communicating with two MCP servers. One is really from the Jira. So Jira MCP server will provide all the incident details. That's one. Then you have the Atlassian, more like a Confluence MCP server to try to create the report. In this case, where our agent is connecting those two servers and try to generate the two contexts together. One is the incident context, another one is the report format context, and put them together to generate the postmortem analysis. It's right now, it's still case by case. Every time we have a solution, we think about, rather than building a customized base like AI agent to do that, writing those instructions into the prompt, building a special knowledge base, or we can reach out the help from those the two providers or MCP server provider to provide the context, to bring context to the AI agents, right? So right now we're still at the stage of building those client MCP client case by case, but that's really the progress we're making today, like building connection with multiple different MCP servers.
For the whole buy versus build thing, does that imply that at some point, if people have a particular type of infrastructure with a particular type of application, they'll be able to purchase the pieces to do this, or is this always going to be bake at home, or is there a, what's that look like?
So my point of view is always like buy first, then if necessary, build. If there's something super important to you, you think this is really your differentiator, and then you build, right? Always try to take a buy as accelerating approach. The good news in this space is most of the mainstream, the two chain provider in SRE space are releasing some sort of the MCP service, right? So that every single company, like I talk to at least like 10 partners every month. Everyone's like right now is having a roadmap of building some sort of the MCP service, right? What you need to do is just try to build out some MCP client, and that's it. But also building MC client that you can also use AWS Bedrock, Vertex AI. They also support a lot of features that so you can easily build out those MCP clients. So to me, building those things is not that hard. Maybe how to adopt this. The eval is going to be a problem. The security check is going to be an issue that industry is not really fully solved yet. It's not solved yet, but I personally think it's like the whole industry will catch up. I try to build up more solutions focusing on scaled approach, a scaled implementation of those MCP workloads in the future.
If we say that APIs are one side of an equation, and full MCP servers with multiple clients and handing off context and everything is the other side, what's in the middle? Is there anything, or is it really is it a jump?
So to me, like, of course, orchestration is super important. So this is really, again, we're experimenting. I don't think in the market has a good definition, a framework to think about that orchestration layer in between whether this is API or this is MCP. That gateway is something I see some multiple technology providers being some gateway type of thinking. Right now, we actually create some like a prompt-based routing system to route whether this is you should reach out to MCP to get the context, right? If there is a natural language about the user query and we think it is super dynamic, is not structured enough, then you should like reach out to MCP to get some help, right? Right now, we're also waiting for the industry to have some like really good gateway thinking. We also see some like players focus on MCP marketplace generation, try to wrap all the MCP server access, all the security setup, and also even the MCP client building, and to wrap them into services. We also see players that focus on MCP like marketplace as well. So those are really new things. But I said this to my clients. I said there's certain stage maybe you don't go too fast, right? Because a lot of companies are not like even implementing AI agents into their SRE value chain. So I would say like try something, a list that build out 15 AI agents into SRE. Now think about enjoying the problem of those AI agents cannot share a good context and knowledge. Then bring some MCP. Then next step is try to, when your MCP ecosystem is complex, bring some thinking around the MCP gateway or MCP orchestration to really consider your API ecosystem and also MCP ecosystem together. So that to me, that's the future step. I see really only small portion of the clients are trying to go that far right now.
So then, switching gears just a little, there's been technologies that have come out. If we only look at the last 10 or so years, you got Docker and Kubernetes and all that kind of stuff that were open source and had standards and fairly good on their own momentum with with different people contributing and so forth. And then different cloud providers and would pick them up, and the implementation started to drift. So like it was easy to say that, oh, I can do my Docker container, I can run it anywhere, or I can have my Helm chart for Kubernetes and I can run it anywhere. But in practice, it actually ran a little different on cloud provider A versus cloud provider B, or what have you. And so it wasn't just so easy that you could pick up your Kubernetes based application and shift it, like that the dream was. Um, how do you say, how are they behaving here? I mean, here Anthropic came out with an open source thing less than a year ago. My understanding is OpenAI and Google DeepMind and Microsoft and all these others are like saying, yeah, this is a good idea. How are they behaving though? Are we diverging? Are we actually having a standard? What's your impression?
I don't think there is a discussion around the standard yet. We see our clients implementing, as I said, like MCP is still at the early stage, to be honest with you, especially in the client, the enterprise adoption. Right? So only like, because you look at our 60, let's say like 60 clients at Thoughtworks managed services, I would say like 30% of them are implementing AI into their SAE, right? Because I myself, my job is to push AI adoption, right? Maybe only another 10% considering the MCP because they have been implemented multiple different agents. Then the context sharing becoming a problem for MCP, for MCP to solve that problem. So I still think the adoption is not there yet, but I personally believe that's a good paradigm to think about. So you what you just mentioned, like that's a happy problem to solve in the next like 6 months. I don't think there is a huge deal right now. Even people are talking about like standard, talking about security of the MCP, but we're not there yet. That's just my observation in the industry. Maybe there's some certain areas, especially I'm focusing on the SRE space. There are MCP applying for multiple different other spaces.
So if I'm like on an SRE team or that type of team, I'm really trying really hard not to say DevOps team because I'm a believer there's shouldn't be such a thing. But if my job is running and managing these things and understanding what I'm going to have incident response and so forth, what should I be learning? What should I be watching? What should I be reading? How do I make sure that I'm not falling behind on this stuff? Because like you said, it's all being defined.
My tangible suggestion to all the engineering leaders, operation leaders in companies, in enterprise is just create a list of your mainstream, your existing tool chain, like either this Dynatrace, Datadog, New Relic, whatever. So you must have 15 of them. Then try to reach out to them, asking direct question, what's your roadmap for MCP? Some will say, oh, we already have the MCP server there. Then you ask a question, let's do a demo. Right? Ask them to provide you a demo to connect some of the AI agents to their MCP server and see the difference. Because MCP right now is like you gonna rely on those tool provider to help you accelerate the thing. That's always my genuine a suggestion to the IT leader there. Like use your partner to do that. They have a plan to deploy MCP and ask them the question. So that's my suggestion. Like just don't learning is one thing, but implementing is another thing. It's tangible use cases. Just use it. And we use like super well. We think is promising. It's getting the tangible business value for us. It's just start implementing and experimentation.
So there's a lot of, admittedly, some of this is hype marketing, but there's a lot of AI enabled tools and agents and agentic architectures and that kind of thing that have been out for a couple of years now. And, much longer if we don't consider it like LLM. The AI was not actually invented 2 years ago. So I mean, there's lots of stuff out there. If someone's already using something that's doing that's using AI and writing the context in another way, I don't know if it's RAG or whatever it is. Are there compelling reasons for them to be looking at changing, or should they wait for this to mature a little better? Or what do you think about that?
So my suggestion, like the MCP, the reason why you use MCP is try to augment your existing RAG approach or to improve the efficiency and the performance of your AI agents, right? My opinion is really just try it because I think this is tangible, at least from the practitioner point of view. Like we're implementing this, we're working with accelerators and with the different partners. We believe this is working because this is our daily job. We're managing our customers' infrastructure and applications. We try to do things faster. There is a business case for us. Do something in the context of driving a business case. Like this area rarely has some business case. If you consider other AI focus areas, I think SRE is definitely the big area, which has a great use case, great business case to deliver. So, my suggestion is don't hesitate. Work with the community. Of course, there is a hype in the market for sure. But calling out something hype is easy, to be honest with you. Trying something, go to the hype, try something out is hard, right? So that's really my suggestion.
Yeah, I love that. People are like, oh, it's all hype. No, well, it's not all hype. Hype comes from somewhere.
That's also my job, like to differentiate what's real, what's not real, but always have your point of view. The only way to have your point of view is you try something out.
That's a really good point. So if I'm an engineering leader and I'm developing new applications and I'm going to be creating them, and I mean, let's assume greenfield, right? Let's not assume legacy, or what have you. Are there things I should be thinking about from an architecture perspective to make this sort of thing easier later? Like, I want to make my SRE more effective. I want to be able to solve incidents quicker. I want faster mean time to recovery, all the stuff from Dora, et cetera. Are there things that these folks should be thinking about from an architecture perspective? Or even, team structure. What should people be doing to make sure that they make you more effective?
Because everything we're talking about make it easy to operate. It follows the same principle when we're thinking about the cloud native applications, right? Those best practices of building the cloud native application will apply here, right? I don't have ask for the advice to the technology leader to say make the architecture better so that SRE can be better, right? So to me, it's all about observability first. You always need to make sure systems are at what level to be more observable by the different other tools, right? Always look at your vendor list. Look at your vendors. Some tool providers are cloud native. Some are AI native or AI first. Some providers are established. Their tools, their capabilities established for a long time. maybe not that cloud native, right? So it's just a two selection. Try to combine your strategy together. Like try to look at those big established, tool provider, large scale, but always bring some of the old AI native. Those new companies are built out only like 2 years, 3 years old. They bring new practices, focusing on SRE. So I always want to take a partnership or ecosystem play, use your ecosystem to evolve your tech stack. It's not only about technical or architectural decision you're making. You also use your ecosystem drive you to improve your tech stack, to improve your tech practices. That's really the reason why you work with Thoughtworks is always bring some new ideas, right? If you, of course, you can work with the large scale established company, provide services and tool. It's a stable, it's a predictable. But to drive innovation, sometimes you have to bring those like ecosystem player who are AI native or AI first into your tool chain. So that's really my suggestion.
Right. So I really appreciate that. And for the listeners, we'll also put a link to the article that Zashwan wrote with JJ Tang and Rob Skillington in the show notes, so you can check it there. Thank you for your time. But is there anything in closing that you'd like to add? Something I didn't ask you about that you think people should hear?
We're doing multiple things for MCP. I would say like the key focus area. I think if you're experimenting the MCP, I would suggest to consider the following areas. It's just a matter of context. What context you bring to your incident management, right? So we are trying the following things. I think it's worth recommending and sharing. One is bringing the business context into the incident problem solving, right? Incident resolution and navigation, investigation, right? So for example, GCP, we're trying the Cloud Run as the MCP technology to bring the business context into the incident triaging and resolution. So that's one. The second context you can bring is security context. So that's something we're working with the Panther, which is a security company. So bringing their MCP server into the security detection, incident detection, logic creation as a use case. So that's another thing, like bringing the security context. The third interesting context is really about observability context, right? Think about Chronosphere, think about New Relic. They hold all the log information. So we're using those MCP servers, their MCP servers to connect the SRE engineering together with observability context. So those are the three areas: business context, security context, observability context. So those three areas, I think if you were experimenting this, those are tangible use cases you can work on.
Great. So again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And we'll speak to you later.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Ken. I'll talk to you later.